Hello, and thanks for joining us. I'm Richie Luntz, aka Screwball, and on today's show, myself and my co-host Joey Buchholz, aka JoBu, will be talking about the final team in the AL East, the Baltimore Orioles. So, let's play ball. Joe, how are things?
Happy Mother's Day to everyone out there. Good, Richie. Excited for the show today.
Yeah, happy Mother's Day. It's not actually Mother's Day here. We have a different date, but I know it is in America, and I also know, weirdly enough, that it is in Japan. Don't know why you both share the same day for that, but one of the well, you share baseball as well.
So when is Mother's Day in the UK?
Oh, don't ask me that.
Oh, I put on the spot there.
Oh, no one. I'm terrible with dates. It's the 27th of March, and I honestly didn't just look that up. I promise. Honest. So, if you haven't joined us before, what happened was I spun the wheel and we came up with the AL East as the starting point for our show. And then spun the wheel again. First show was the Boston Red Sox. And today, as I say, the last show in the AL East is the Baltimore Orioles. We go through 9 innings, which we'll go through as and when they come up. So let's get started. First of all, bit of a painful one if you're an Orioles fan. It's payroll. Yeah, where'd you start on the Baltimore Orioles payroll? It's not good.
It's a mess.
It's not good at all. Basically, the players who aren't at the franchise anymore are the ones that are still being paid the majority of the payroll, which is ridiculous. They've made an absolute show of the rundown of their payroll. I don't know. Is there anything you'd really want to add? Because it's not even really worth talking about, other than the fact that it's an absolute shambles.
I don't understand the makeup of this payroll. Now, I love Chris Davis. Chris Davis was on my fantasy team in 2013 when he hit, 53 homers, 138 ribbies. Since then, let's just look at the last 5 years. He's hit 221, 215, 168, 179, and last year 115. He's injured this year. He's not playing. He makes up 37% of their payroll. He makes $21 million a year. The entire payroll for the Orioles is $57 million. The league average is $129 million.
Yeah.
I don't understand the economics of that. How I don't consider Baltimore, like, maybe Baltimore's not, they're not a metropolis like New York or Chicago, but I don't consider them like a small market team like the Milwaukee Brewers or the Jacksonville Jaguars of the NFL. And they're 72 million below the league average in payroll. I just don't understand it.
I do kind of understand it in the position they're in, but it's a position that they put themselves in.
Yeah.
I don't think, from what I've seen, that the owner is someone who's going to spend when the time is right, kind of thing. I can't see them like ever being at the top of the payroll under this ownership. But given the situation they're in, they are actually doing the right thing, trying to rebuild through the farm system. The question is, when it comes time to give these people contracts, are they willing to do it? They need to, otherwise they're not going to break the cycle, and it's just going to be, you watch a player develop, come through the youth, play for the Orioles for a couple of years, and then get signed or traded, and there's nothing to hang on to. It's really sad. I mean,
they haven't done a great job developing players since Ripken retired. I think the biggest prospect they had in the last 30 years was a kid named Dylan Bundy, who's, a nice pitcher, but he was supposed to be kind of that Steven Strasburg level type guy. They have 3 guys right now that that I'm personally excited for. One of them's up right now, Ryan Mountcastle.
Yeah.
They got a catcher by the name of Adley Rushman, who's 23, and then they've got a starting pitcher who has 4 different pitches, Grayson Rodriguez. So they've got talent, but again, like you said, what's going to happen in 6 years when they become free agents? Are they going to be able to keep these guys around? 6 years is a very short window to be competitive.
Yeah, I think as important is keeping. It doesn't have to be these players, but players of the level of the performances that Cedric Mullins and Severino and Rio Ruiz, they all are complimenting, and Trey Mancini, obviously. They all seem to be complimenting the young players in this team at the moment. They're not going to pull up any trees. They're not going to win the division. They're not going to go to the playoffs. But are they improving from what I saw of the YouTube videos of last year? Absolutely. And that's all you can really ask at this moment in time with this team. So it's a pivotal moment. Obviously, John Means, who will come to later as well, you've got to understand that for the next 2 years, a lot of their payroll is tied up in players who aren't there, like Cobb, who's at the Angels, and you've just said his name, Chris Davis, who I believe did he retire? Is he injured? What's the deal with Chris Davis?
He's injured. He's still a member of the 40-man roster, but
right.
I mean, he hit 115 last year. I know it was only 60 games, but he hasn't hit above 200 in 4 years.
And wasn't he injured for like the best part of 2 seasons as well?
Yeah, but even before that, he was hitting like 168. I mean, we're talking about a guy who's led the league in home runs twice. He had 53 in 2013. A couple years later, he had 47. Since then, I mean, we're talking about in the last 6 years, he's hit about 85 homers.
I mean, if you want to look on the bright side of things, the fact that they were willing to pay someone $21 million shows that at least they will do that. They just chose the wrong player to do it with. And another thing I was reading was that the farm systems improved dramatically in the last couple of years. So, maybe there is hope. I can't go on without talking about Pat Valet here as well, because watching him, I love it when position players have to pitch. And I love it for so many reasons, but one of them is professional players really seem to struggle when position players pitch. It's like they do better against these aces. It's really weird. And I wondered if you had any sort of input on why that might be.
There's a psychology to it. Number one, we saw this in Little League all the time, where if you're facing a guy who's not used to pitching, you immediately get inside your own head thinking like, oh, this guy sucks. I'm going to hit a homer, or, everything's going to be right over the plate. It's going to be meatballs. But when you do that, you're setting the bar way too high. And then oftentimes you're underperforming based on that situation. I mean, we saw it, I think it was about a week ago, Anthony Rizzo was pitching against Freddie Freeman.
I did see that, yeah.
Struck him out.
And they had a nice little laugh about it, which was really nice to see.
And it was a fun moment, because they had a moment that they shared about a week earlier where Rizzo was mic'd and he was yelling, Frederick. So I guess they're buddies or whatever, but like, I've seen situations where, a guy goes up there, throws a Ganefis pitch, humiliates the guy that's, like an all-star caliber player. So it can be a lighthearted moment, but it's not necessarily a fun moment for that hitter if he doesn't perform well, because then he's going to get ribbed heading back to his dugout, like, oh, you just struck out to a middle infielder in late 30s.
I think once you're at the level of Freeman and Rizzo, though, you're both all stars. You can laugh about it, can't you? You can just
sure
see it for what it is. I mean, if if you're trying to make your way. Like one player I'm really interested in watching at the moment is Yama Mercedes, because like I don't have any affinity to the White Sox or anything. It's just him and young players. You want them to do well so they can stay in the league. You want them to build a career for themselves. And there was another guy who was at the other end of that spectrum, the other side. Oh, what was his name? Was it Kashmir? The one from the Braves.
You talking about the older rookie?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's his name.
It's like Kashmir or something like that. Anyway, and I mean, your heart goes out to him. What was it, 9? I can't even remember. It was either 9 or 13 years that he'd been down and come back up. And you just think, I mean, that in itself, the amount of respect to stick at your craft. I just thought it was a really special moment seeing him come back, and I wish him the best, even though I don't know his name. I apologize. Hopefully I'll know his name, and hopefully a lot of people will know his name and he'll become a household name. Because he definitely deserves it. If you're going to give that much time of your life to something, not that there aren't other players behind him who are working just as hard but haven't had that opportunity yet. But you know, it's just a nice story, isn't it? On to ballpark. Make no bones about it. Camden Yards is absolutely beautiful, and it's one of my favorite stadiums in Major League Baseball. I know it's not one of the newer ones, but I also know that it is sort of the template that a lot of stadiums go off now, where you can kind of integrate the old look into a modern ballpark. So that in itself makes it kind of special. But obviously the fact that it's got the warehouse look at the back, and the outside Utah Street, just I don't know. There's something about it that's special for me. I know it doesn't have the same history as say like Fenway or Wrigley, but in its own way, I feel like it's one of the more special ballparks.
I think Camden really changed the way a ballpark is built. They opened it in '92. It was the first stadium in the wave of just baseball stadiums. It was very common in the '60s and '70s to build these, sterile multiplexes that they all look the same, like Riverfront Stadium, Old Bush Stadium. They were all these kind of bowl-shaped, just boring buildings. And then Camden was the one that kind of made it cool to be different and to stand out as just a baseball stadium. And then everything built after that, Cleveland, Arlington, all these stadiums that came in the mid to late '90s, and pretty much everything since, I think, has what Baltimore did in mind. I consider, now I've never been there, but I consider Camden Yards to be almost like a modern Fenway Park in that it has such a distinct look. Like when you see it, you instantly think, well, that's Camden Yards because of the warehouse. It's just beautiful. Now, again, I've never been there, but I would consider it probably in my top 5 parks, just, like if I'm watching a game on TV or that I want to get to at some point. It's definitely at the very top of that list. I have to get there at some point.
Yeah, I would agree. There's just something special about it. Another one that there's something special about is PNC of the newer ballparks, because you can see the bridge, the yellow bridge in the background, and I love stadiums where they are able to incorporate the outside world into the stadium. And I'm a Columbus Crew fan, and they have done that on the new Crew Stadium. And it's it's going to be fantastic. And any stadium that does that gets big thumbs up from me.
PNC
But
PNC happens to be my favorite stadium in the whole country.
yeah, it's a fantastic stadium. Again, I've never been. Just saying, as someone who watches them on TV, of the new stadiums. I mean, it depends what you count as new. How old's PNC now?
Boy, I'd be guessing, I want to say 15, 20 years as
Yeah,
a guess.
yeah. So I mean, that's even a different generation to Camden Yards.
Yeah.
So of the new stadiums, PNC is the best in my eyes. And they basically did what, as you say, what Camden Yards did, and they brought the the outside world into the ballpark.
Mhm.
That's what makes them special. Bush Stadium's another good example for that, because you can see the arch from um, home plate,
Yeah.
and that those things, they're irreplaceable. I mean, I live in Liverpool. Anfield is known as one of the most incredible historic stadiums in the world, but up until recently, you couldn't see the state. You couldn't see the city. You couldn't. There was nothing that brought the city into the stadium. Then they built on to take it from 45,000 to, I think it's 54,000, something like that, roughly. And the additional tier is so high up, you can actually see over the top of the stadium because it's only built on one side, and you can see Liverpool. And I didn't realize it until I actually went to a match, because it's not something that gets spoken about. It's not something like, oh, like, oh, we take pride in that. And especially, this was a night game, and you could it was just a really surreal feeling. You could see the cars coming in and out. You could see the lights from the cars, and it added a new dimension for someone who'd been going to the stadium for like over 2 decades. It was new. It was fresh. Do you know what I mean? And I love tradition. I love. I'm very big on nostalgia and that, but I also can appreciate things like that. So yeah, I like the new ballparks, and I like where they're going with them. Long may they continue. I actually saw one in Hokkaido, Japan, where they have built a ballpark that looks like the huts that are on the island. And it's incredible. If you get a chance, check it out. Go on YouTube and just type in Hokkaido. I think they're called Nippon Ham Fighters.
Okay.
Just check out their new stadium. It's going to be insane. I think it's. I want to say it was like 2 billion. It was like something ridiculous to build. Yeah, it's going to be something special. Fan city state culture. I mean, Baltimore is very much a football city. I don't think you can really argue with that. They love their Ravens. There was a documentary on ESPN, 30 for 30, which I saw. Can't remember what it was called. I think it was like the band that wouldn't stop playing, or something like that. The band that wouldn't quit, or
That's one of the best 30 for 30s. It's about the Baltimore Colts band,
yeah,
because they left for Indy basically overnight to the U-Haul, and they just kept playing and kept getting invited to events and stuff. It's an amazing documentary.
yeah. It was a bit of a strange one, because I have, as I say, I'm a Columbus Crew fan, so I have like a connection to Ohio, and obviously, just like the purist in me, and culturally, we don't see our teams just pick up and move. So I was sort of 50-50 with it. I did, obviously, the band and the fans, it wasn't their fault at all. But as much as I enjoyed the documentary, I was sitting there thinking, well, the Browns lost their team though. Well, Cleveland, what happened there? And obviously, I know that was it was written in. There was the art model law and all that happened, which basically meant that I think the term they used was the Browns were deactivated until a new owner came along, and they just went back to being the Browns sometime in the 90s, early 90s. And the Ravens were just considered a new franchise.
Yeah, so it's the first and only time that's really happened where none of the records, colors, team name went to the new city. They were almost treated like an expansion team, but
Yeah.
they got the roster and everything else was in place because of the way that all happened. And Cleveland, again, this is a baseball podcast, but as you know, I'm a big Cleveland Browns fan.
Yeah.
The Cleveland Browns fan base and that franchise is one of the most loyal fan bases in all of sports, and that move to Baltimore in 1996 just ripped my heart out. And when they got a team back in '99, I was there for the first game, and it just didn't feel the same. I know it was the same name and same color scheme and everything, just didn't feel the same. And we're going on now 22 years that the Browns have been back, and they've just become relevant in the last probably year and a half. So I'm looking forward to them, being fully relevant again. But yeah, that move just killed me in the '90s.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Browns as well, and even if I did end up picking Baltimore as my team, and I, I don't know, I'd probably have to support the football team as well, but I would still have time for the Browns. And there's not really a rivalry with the Browns and the Ravens, and it's really weird because I've spoken to a lot of Browns fans, and their hatred for Pittsburgh just overwhelms everything. Like to the point where I'm sitting there and I'm going, yeah, but the Ravens took your team, and like we don't care, we just hate Pittsburgh. It's a really weird thing.
Yeah, I mean it's not on the same level. I mean, I've been a Browns fan since 1983. We definitely do hate the Ravens, but there's more of a respect there. Like I don't know. I'm over the fact that they left now because we have, like I said, it's been 23 years now. We do have a new identity, and I don't dwell on that anymore. It is a little bit bittersweet that Baltimore has 2 Super Bowls and Cleveland's never been to one. Those could have been ours, but
I don't think you can say that. I know where you're coming from, but I don't think you can say that.
Well, sure, I can.
There's a lot of what ifs that go into that.
Well, I mean, the first one that they won in 2000 was basically the Browns roster, and then the draft picks that they got from being lousy in '95. Those draft picks won the Super Bowl in 2000. So yeah, I mean, we can't say anything about the team that won 7 years ago, but that 2000.
But at the same time, you're talking about the team that had Bill Belichick as a coach and ran him out of town. So
yeah,
I get where you're coming from, but there's a lot of
Belichick hasn't done a thing without Tom Brady. So I mean, we can say he's a genius, but I think we've proven that Belichick needed Brady more than Brady needed Belichick.
See, I don't agree with that. I understand the point people make there, but I don't agree with it. But this isn't an NFL podcast, so I won't go into that. I respect both men. That's all I'll say. But I feel like Belichick's coming off with a very rough deal for things that Brady didn't actually do. Yeah, culture. Another one that kind of moves into it as well. We should really do food and drink after culture from now on, because the amount of times that food and drink and culture go together. I'm changing the podcast. I'm changing the list. So to segue into it, it's crab cakes. Have you ever had them?
No, it doesn't even that doesn't sound good to me.
Oh, you can't say that on a Baltimore podcast.
I
Don't
know,
you?
I know, I know, I know, I know. But like I'm not like a big lobster crab guy. Um, but I mean, I would try one, I guess. But yeah, not for me.
Well, that's something that they are very particular and proud about. And from what I've heard, with good reason, I've heard people from outer states say, that their crab cakes are unbelievably good. So, other things that they offer, I don't know. Is it an acai bowl or an acai bowl?
Akai,
Obviously Asian.
yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I for this show, I struggled to find things that I would enjoy that are specific to Baltimore. The things I found
Yeah.
that appeal to me, I think you could find anywhere. Like I found something called Top Notch O's, which is basically just nachos with Doritos, queso, olives, and sour cream.
Yeah.
That looked amazing to me.
Yeah. The other chicken tender basket, that's pretty much, you know, normal.
Yeah, like you can find that kind of stuff anywhere. I found something called the Gravy Fry Chipper, which was
Yeah.
kettle chips served with gravy and mozzarella.
Yeah, that's it. Piqued me interest a little bit, that one. I'll tell you what really piqued me interest. Oh, the Old Bay elote, is it? Or elote? Mexican street corn with garlic mayo, queso fresco, chopped cilantro, and sour cream.
Hmm,
Like, I don't know what Old Bay is. I assume it's like a sauce or something like that. But that's not something I was expecting to see. And I'd like to know kind of where the idea of that came from, and whether that's got any, obviously it's Mexican food,
hmm.
but there must be some link to Maryland for them to kind of sell it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because of all the Mexican food you could sell, why that?
interesting.
Yeah, I found it very interesting that. I noticed the Charm City Chicken Shack because they call Baltimore the Charm City, don't they?
Yeah.
Apologies to everyone in Baltimore because I know that they refer to it as Balmer, but I didn't want to like try and take on the accent and just have a mare with it. And the other thing they say is Jeet instead of did you eat?
Oh,
Jeet.
nice.
Jeet. Yeah, so like I've done a little bit of reading around and I liked what I saw. I think, yeah, we'll kind of come to it later, but Pigtown Stack as well. I thought
That
like,
looks amazing.
yeah, well, you're a slow guy, I'm not. But other than that, I'll be good with it. And mac and cheese, what's a po' boy? I've seen po' boy a couple of times and I don't know what it is. No, it's
I
like a sandwich, but
I don't know what's specifically on it. I think I've had one before. Let me take a look.
I think in Chicago they have po' boys as well, don't they? They're quite big over there.
Po' boy is a it's from Louisiana.
Oh, okay.
It consists of meat, roast beef or fried seafood, often shrimp, crawfish, fish, oysters, or crab, served on French bread with its crispy crust and a fluffy center.
All of that, all of it. I'm down. We don't need to say anymore. That's it. That we're good. We'll leave that there. I didn't see any drinks on the menu. I assume they obviously do them, but there was nothing. Did you spot anything or?
I very rarely look at the drinks because I usually would just rock a Pepsi or a bottle of water.
Hmm.
I'm so boring when it comes to beverage.
Merchandise slash unis. Yeah, I love the orange. It pops. It's kind of like the opposite ends of the spectrum from the powder blue, but they both stand out for different reasons. I really like the Orioles uniforms.
Orange happens to be my favorite color, so I've always gravitated towards teams that feature it. And like, we always joke every week how nobody can see what we're wearing, but I'm wearing a very old Baltimore Orioles hat, probably
Yeah.
older than many of the
93, I
listeners.
think you said it was, didn't you?
93, I bought this, and
Yeah.
then a matching shirt that I bought at Walmart for like $1. Yeah, I love the Orioles color scheme. I love it when they wear the orange tops. I love the orange and black and white. Just it all goes well together. I love I love the insignia on the cap, the kind of cartoony Oriole. I love everything about it. Probably again top. I would say they're in my top 10 for uniforms.
Mm. I don't think I've seen an Orioles uniform, past or present, that I don't like.
They used a different bird in the 90s, like a thinner. It was like a black cap with a thinner bird. It wasn't as animated. I didn't like that very much, but they came back to this one not too long after that.
Have they always stuck with that font?
I believe so. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I
so
like that. Don't change it.
yeah, the Orioles have been in Baltimore since '54. For 52 years, they were in St. Louis as the St. Louis Browns, and they actually originated in Milwaukee. They played their first year in the American League was in Milwaukee, and then finances led them to actually move to St. Louis. And then the St. Louis Browns were a historically bad team. They had a winning percentage of 474 over 52 years, and the Orioles in the last 67 years have a winning percentage of 506. And I don't think they're kind of like the Mets. They haven't really done much as far as change the identity of their look in the last 67 years.
Mm. No, I like that though. Did you say they were one of the teams that don't have names on the back?
No, they do. So the teams that don't are the Yankees, Dodgers, Giants, and Red Sox.
Okay. Yeah,
Pretty
I'd
sure.
probably prefer if they didn't have the names. But then again, the rate that the players go in and out of Baltimore, they probably need the names on them so they know who they are.
That's a good point.
Yeah. That brings us to legends, funnily enough. Well, it has to start with Cal Ripken, doesn't it? It's just
Yeah, I mean, that's usually the first name that you think of when you think of the Baltimore Orioles. The games played streak, 2,652 straight games. I can't even fathom that. I can't go 3 weeks without using a Band-Aid.
well, I got injured in a practice, so I can't say.
Yeah, it's
Oh.
just amazing.
So who else? I mean, Frank Robinson was one that
Frank,
stood
Frank
out.
Robinson, Brooks Robinson, maybe the best defensive third baseman of all time.
Earl
Jim
Weaver.
Homer, Earl Weaver, just one of the most animated managers of all time. A couple of my favorite announcers actually used to work for the Orioles. John Miller, the famous voice of ESPN Sunday Night Baseball, he now works for the Giants. Had a long run with the Baltimore Orioles, and a former Mets play-by-play guy named Gary Thorne just finished a run with the Orioles. I think he was let go last year. Those two guys are in my top 10 all time for play-by-play guys, both Baltimore ties.
Well, I mean, there are a lot of legends to speak about. Roberto Alomar is another one.
Yeah, I mean, he had a shorter stint there. I think of him as more of a Toronto Blue Jay, but yeah, he played there for a little bit.
Yeah. Does John Means add himself to the legends when his playing career is up?
Well,
I mean, he did throw a no-hitter.
I'm going to give you kind of a local perspective here. I know it's a Baltimore show, but because we're talking about young kids throwing no-hitters, there was a guy in 1987 named Juan Nieves who he was a pitcher for the Brewers. He no-hit the Orioles. He only played in the major leagues 2 years, and he's still considered to be an icon in Milwaukee because of that game. He's going to be remembered forever. He'll never pay for a drink again in Baltimore. It was the first no-hitter that one pitcher threw for the Orioles since 1969.
79.
69.
Surely. 69.
60. Jim Palmer in 1969. They had a combined no-hitter like, I don't know, 30 years ago or whatever, but this is the first one in 52 years for the Orioles.
Wow. I thought I had 42. That's my bad. So it's even better than I thought it was. So, yeah, he was the 308th at the time to throw a no-hitter in Major League Baseball.
308th no-hitter?
Yep. Because obviously Wade
and like half of them have been this year, it seems.
Yeah. I was going to say, well, it was only a couple of days later when, was it Wade Miley? Was that his name? Yeah. He threw one, didn't he? The sad thing, I mean, it's a joyous thing, a no-hitter. I don't want to take anything away from it, but he was one wild pitch away from a perfect game.
You know, and I'm hearing a lot of people say, well, that shouldn't ruin his perfect game. Well, that's the whole point of a perfect game is that
the word perfect doesn't mean apart from, it means perfect.
Yeah, a wild pitch is imperfect.
Yes. You know. Yeah, I'm completely, the word perfect is, well, I mean, you could argue that true perfection has to be imperfect. So, but yeah, for the dictionary definition of perfect, it wasn't a perfect game. Yeah, and here's two mad things about the Orioles for me. Now you'll have to make, I have to make sure now because I've made a mistake and I don't usually do that when I've done my research for the podcast. 83 that the Orioles won the World Series. Is that right?
Say that again.
1983 that the Orioles won the World Series.
Yes, that was the first World Series I ever watched. The Orioles beat the Phillies.
Well, not to make you feel too old, but that was the first year I was on this planet.
I mean, I was 7. You know, or
yeah, well, you're not that much older than me. I'm just saying I was born in 1982, but I was born in November, so baseball would have been over by then.
Sure.
So the first year that I could have been a baseball fan, the Orioles won the World Series.
Nice.
And the first full game that I watched for the Baltimore Orioles, I saw my first no-hitter. John Means threw my first no-hitter.
Nice. Did you watch that entire game?
I did. Yeah.
Nice.
I tuned in late, so I didn't see the whole thing. Okay. So to answer your question, no, I didn't.
All right.
But it was my...
You just lied to me on the podcast.
Yeah. I mean, well, it's for entertainment purposes, isn't it? No, I think it was about the 4th, 5th inning. I just happened to turn over and it was on. And I was like, I'll watch this. You seem to be pitching well. Little did I know. But yeah, where does that leave us? We usually do legends of the media, but again, and I really need to start doing more work on this. I've kind of sort of jumped past that. Is there anyone that you were saying before about it that you did touch on it? There were 2 people in the play-by-play commentary that you liked.
Yeah, John Miller used to work for the Orioles. He's most known for doing Sunday Night Baseball for like 20 years with Joe Morgan. He was fired by the Orioles. He has since worked for the San Francisco Giants, and he still works for them. The other guy was Gary Thorne. Gary Thorne did Mets games years ago on TV. He's worked for the Orioles, I think, the last 10 or 12 years, and he was recently replaced. But Gary Thorne and John Miller are in my top 10 all-time play-by-play guys for baseball.
I've just thought of, when you were saying that, I've just thought of a way to say it. On the MLB app, I usually watch the condensed game or the highlights. I didn't watch the full game of John Means no hitter, but I did watch the game. That's the difference. Do you get what I mean now?
Yep.
Cool. Don't want to be lying to you.
No, I'm
I know you're only messing. I just wanted to get it because you go, oh yeah, I'll watch the game. It's kind of like if you're watching a football game, you tune in like 20 minutes later and someone goes to you, did you watch the game? You just go, yeah, I'll watch the game. But I didn't watch the full game, if we're being sort of accurate. Historical moments. What we got?
So this is a team that has won 3 world championships in 1966, 1970, and 1983. From 1966 through 83, they won 7 American League pennants. That means in an 18-year span, they were the World Series representative of the American League 7 of those 18 years. So for a while, because the Yankees had a period of time where they weren't winning championships. The Orioles kind of took their spot as the dominant American League team for a little bit. Obviously, we talked about John Means, Cal Ripken's streak, just incredible. I personally, again, I'm going to get a lot of hate mail for this. I was a fan of the streak, but there were some days after he got to about like 1700, 1800 where the numbers were struggling, and you can tell that a day off would have maybe done him or the team some good. It almost felt at some points that we were just doing it to do it kind of thing.
I kind of get that. I've heard the same with Brett Favre as well. But
yeah,
at the same time, no. Different generation. If the man wanted to play, you let them play.
Yeah, it's just if I'm managing a team and if I'm looking at the game in front of me, and if he's not one of the top 9 for that day that I think can help me, I'd rather sit him. And I love Lou Gehrig. I love the history of just the mythic icon that is Lou Gehrig. I love the idea that a guy's going to go out and play every day, but baseball is, it's 162 games. It's 6-7 games a week for 26 weeks. The Brewers they're in the middle of a stretch now where the Milwaukee Brewers are playing 17 straight days. And I'll guarantee it. I guarantee that there's not going to be a single player on the Brewers that is going to play in all 17 of those games. And we're talking about a guy playing in 2,600 straight games. So it'll never happen again.
No, it won't. There's so many records like that now, due to sports science, you're not going to see them again.
No.
Yeah.
There's no chance.
What does that bring us on to? Keep losing my train of thoughts. I'm trying to do like 3 things at once. Oh yeah, Chris Davis earning a win as a pitcher against the Red Sox. On May 6th, 2012, the Orioles beat the Red Sox 9-6 in a 6-hour, 17-minute, 17-inning game, earning their first sweep of Fenway since 1994. 3-run home run by Adam Jones in the 17th gave the Orioles the lead, but they couldn't have won the game without the help of Orioles position player Chris Davis, who earned the win. Davis went 0 for 8 at the plate. Sounds familiar. 5 strikeouts, but pitched 2 scoreless innings in the 16th and 17th. His final pitching line was 2 innings, 2 hits, 0 runs, 1 walk, and 2 strikeouts. Wow.
That's interesting that happened before he became like this. That was the year before he won the home run title. So that's amazing.
Wow. Another couple. Manny Machado makes major league debut. Manny Machado wins the AL Platinum Glove Award. Chris Davis crushes 53 home runs, as you said. Won a Silver Slugger Award, finished 3rd in the American League MVP voting behind Miguel Cabrera and Mike Trout. One of the best explosive performances by an Orioles player in recent history. The beginning of the Buck Showalter era. July 29th, 2015. 2012 wildcard game against the Texas Rangers. Clinching the 2014 AL East title. That sounds like a fun one. See, I'm gonna research all of these. Just thought I'd go through them quickly. Game 1 of the 2014 ALDS. Orioles took on the Tigers at Camden Yards to start the 2014 American League Division Series. Game started off strong for the Orioles with a 2-run home run. Yada, yada, yada. Bottom of the 8th started with a 1-out double by Alejandro De Aza. And the downfall of the Tigers happened after a crucial error by shortstop Adam Romy, which allowed De Aza to score from second on a ground ball. 8-run inning is a team postseason record. Tillman got the win in front of a crowd of 47,842. And then the number one moment, game 2 of the 2014 ALDS. So really, I think I need to watch the 2014 ALDS by the sounds of it. It sounds like a great series. Can you remember much about it?
I don't, to be honest.
I don't expect you to know every single game, just offhand.
Here's actually why, and I have a good reason for it. So the ALDS and the NLDS started in 1995. Before that, it was just League Championship Series leading into the World Series. I think of the ALDS as the same as kind of the wild card games. Like they're appetizers. Like, I'll watch them. They're on. I'm paying attention, but my attention span doesn't peak for postseason baseball till the League Championship Series. And I think it's just because that's what I'm used to. Like, I almost look at ALDS as like, wild card games. Like I watch wild card games in the NFL, but I don't really get excited until that next round where it's like, all right, now we got 8 teams left. Now we're down to 4. In baseball, as long as they keep expanding it, my attention span really starts when they get down to 4 teams.
Yeah,
League Championship. There's just something.
I get it. Well, the main reason that this podcast exists is because I couldn't really follow baseball because there's too much of it, and I wanted to finally, be able to follow a full season, which I am doing to some degree. Nicknames. Did you find anything? Isn't Cal Ripken, isn't he the Iron Man because of his streak?
Yeah, I mean, Lou Gehrig was the Iron Horse. It seems to be like a common theme with these guys that played in 2,000 straight games. I didn't really find a ton. What I did find, which I think is just lazy, but it's interesting, is the mascot for the Orioles. The name of the mascot is the Oriole Bird. Like they didn't even name it. And this thing's been around for 42 years, and it's just referred to as the Oriole Bird.
I've got a few nicknames for you if you want to move on from that.
Yeah.
The worst nickname I found was Dr. Poo Poo.
I can't even tell you who that would have been.
That was Stevie Wilkerson, because the rookie utility man became known in 2019 for floating mid-50-mile-an-hour lob balls to the plate during a string of successful mop-up pitching appearances. Yeah. Obviously, Mike Mussina, the Moose.
Moose.
One of my favorite pitchers of all time. Chris Davis's nickname, Crush.
I should have thought of that. He's one of my favorite nicknames.
El Presidente, like that one.
Dennis Martinez,
because he was such a sensation in the home country of Nicaragua that he considered a run for president. The original judge, Who's that?
The original judge, did you say?
Yeah. It was called
No,
The Judge.
I don't know.
Frank Robinson.
Was that his nickname? See, I didn't even know that. I mean, some of these, interesting.
Because nobody questioned the two-time Most Valuable Player award winner. His word was both law on the field and in the clubhouse kangaroo courts. Cakes.
You're stumping me. I'm a fraud.
To be fair, no, some of these nicknames did nothing to do with baseball. It's Jim Palmer, because they realised during the 66 World Series that whenever he ate pancakes before a game, the Orioles won. So he just kept eating pancakes. Crazy Horse.
Crazy Horse. Is that Sisler?
Mike Cuellar, is it?
Mike Cuellar.
Cuellar.
Boy, I'm terrible at these Baltimore
names. I'm putting you to shame. Yeah, man. Oh, you've got to get this one. The Earl of Baltimore.
Earl Weaver.
Yeah. Steady Eddie.
No idea.
Eddie Murray.
Eddie Murray was known as Steady Eddie?
Yeah. I think just because it rhymed.
Yeah. Like
Iron Man, we spoke about. Cal Ripken. The Human Vacuum Cleaner.
Brooks Robinson.
Yeah, what a great nickname that is. And Boog.
Boog Powell. Yeah, I don't even know what Boog Powell's real first name is.
Yeah, John.
Is it?
Yeah. Do you know why he's called Boog?
I do not.
It doesn't actually say. It says because in his 6+ decades connected with the Orioles, nobody has ever called him by his given name, John. Whether he's being summoned by a lone fan on Utah Street or cheered by the crowd, he is and always will be simply Boog.
Love it.
Yeah, I love it when nicknames take over. It's up to you which way do you want to. Well, I suppose the way to do it now would be to just say which team I've chosen.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's well, yeah, let's do it.
Brilliant.
I have to act like I'm not sure.
Well, you're not sure.
I'm not 100%. I wouldn't bet my life on it.
You think you're sure? I'm still not sure, so I don't know. You're sure. Right. So in 5th place was the Yankees. No offense, just not a Yankees fan. Been there, tried that. Don't like the new ballpark. I think I made that quite clear in the other episode. There's a lot to like about the Yankees historically, and if that's the team you want to support, good luck to you. I can understand why. Just not for me. 4th place was the Blue Jays, which will come as a shock to a lot of people because I love Canada. I'd love to go and live in Toronto. I'd love to go and study in Toronto. But I just didn't have any affinity with the Blue Jays. I watched YouTube videos of them, and listen, they've got a lot of players that I like in terms of I think they'll do well. I just didn't feel a connection.
Yeah.
And the ballpark was a little bit, I don't know, it didn't feel like a baseball park to me. I get it. I get why it is the way it is. I get why it needs the roof. It's amazing to be able to look up at the CN Tower. There's a lot to like about them, again, like the Yankees, but just not for me. In 3rd place was the Rays. Don't like the hats. That was one of the biggest reasons. I know that's terrible, but I've got to be able to wear it and feel like I fit in. But the main reason was that they just can't get local fans, and if you can't get local fans, there's usually a reason for it. I hope that they do start to get local fans. I hope this new ballpark that they're all talking about will bring them back or bring them in. I think the way they run as a club is phenomenal, and they deserve all the respect in the world for it. But it just wasn't for me in the end. I do love Glasnow as well. He nearly tipped the scales. but he'll be gone soon. So, right. So Kane's on to the Red Sox and the Orioles, top against bottom. I'm not going to do the order. I'm just going to say what I liked about both of them.
This feels like the end of American Idol right now.
Why is that?
I'm just picturing like you're Ryan Seacrest and you've got the Orioles and Red Sox next to you, and one of them's going to hug you and the other's going to just tearfully hug the winner. You know, it's good. It's a good. This is a big moment.
Well, I don't know. I'll just get to it. It had to be the Red Sox because all my friends are Red Sox fans, and I've been to Fenway and I loved it, and I loved the history, and I loved the uniforms, and they're one of the biggest teams, and they've got all everything going right for them, and that's why I'm going to be an Orioles fan.
Oh, swerve!
Do you like that one? I feel really bad because I genuinely thought I was going to be a Red Sox fan, and I was right up until the last minute. I genuinely was, because there's so much to like about them. I have genuine love for the Red Sox. I'll never forget the fact that they made me a baseball fan. I'll never. I even forgave the issues with the ownership of Liverpool and everything. But do you know what it came down to? The Orioles need fans and the Red Sox don't. The Orioles are yet to have their 2004 moment. You could say 83, but that's a long time ago now. The Orioles feel to me like the Red Sox did before the Red Sox became this global phenomenon. Difficult way to say. And I didn't want to be a hypocrite, basically. One of the reasons I started this podcast was to look at other teams that I haven't looked at and to understand baseball on a deeper level. I know the Orioles are terrible and know that their management is terrible, although they've started to turn it around a little bit and there's a bit of hope there. I know that the Red Sox ownership, regardless of what I think about what they did with Liverpool, from a traditional or cultural point of view, are extremely good at what they do. They were the first to get on to how Moneyball can change. Obviously, the Oakland A's were the ones who hired Billy Beane and did all that, but the Red Sox were the first ones to go, yeah, if you can do that there, what can you do with the money that we'll give you? And yeah, I get it. When people think of Boston, they think of all these great films and actors, and it's always positive about Boston, and it's an affluent place to live in Massachusetts, or Massachusetts is an affluent state to live in, and they've got the two universities, and they've got so much going for them, and the job market's great and all that, and I just feel like their story's been told over and over and over again, and I wouldn't say that I'm a storyteller, but one day I might like to be if things work out the way I want them to. And I feel like the Orioles deserve more respect than they get. And I feel like their story is just as good and needs to be told. And people need to realize that it's not just the Yankees and the Red Sox. So I went with the Orioles.
I fully support your decision.
I do feel bad though, because I literally, like, the two, before I met you and our other friend, who I'm talking about, I had two people in my life who are pretty much like family to me, and they're both Red Sox fans. And I genuinely said to one of them yesterday, "That's it. I'm going to be a Red Sox fan, and I'm gonna adopt all the Boston teams, and I'm fed up of running from this. I'm fed up of overthinking it." And I was genuinely going to do it. And then I just started watching videos of the Orioles, and they were heartbreaking videos. And there was one especially of a guy who was in a hospital bed and he was fighting COVID. And he wasn't able to have anyone into his room for obvious reasons other than the nurse and stuff. So he hasn't seen his family or anything for ages. And he had the telly on and he was recording himself watching the no-hitter and he was crying. And he said afterwards, like, you know, that gives me hope. And I just thought to myself, that's what it's about. That's what I want out of sport. And I'm not saying that every team can't give you that. But if that guy was a Red Sox fan or a Yankees fan, that'd be all over the place now. But because he's an Orioles fan and it was only on the local news, do you know what I mean? Hopefully that story gets picked up and it gets everywhere. But you know where I'm coming from. The difference in the media markets in Baltimore, a lot of things are going to happen, good and bad, that just won't get out. But I'll bet you now more of the bad gets out than the good. Because the media or certain branches of the media have decided what Baltimore is. And as much as I love The Wire, and you know I do, you know it's my favorite show of all time. To the point where I nearly quit the podcast when you dared to put it in top 20.
It's a top 20 show. It's a compliment.
Don't make me angry again. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, but the point is, there's a lot of good to be said about Baltimore, and it chimed with me because my city is the same. People focus on the bad and not the good. And if I can help in any way to get the message out that Baltimore is somewhere where there's so much more going on than, you know, the projects and all the bad and the shootings and stuff like that, which happen everywhere, by the way, in America. Some are just more prevalent than others for socio-economic reasons, but we won't get into that now. But if I can do anything positive, then I want it. And the Boston story's been told, and congratulations to them, and it's a hell of a story, and it's my favorite story. But I don't want to live based on a story that was told in the past that I wasn't really a part of. I'd rather be part of the future. And if we have to go 10, 20, 30, whatever years, if I'm still on this planet, then that's the choice I'm making. They're my team in the AL East, and that's that.
Again, I fully support you. I dressed for the occasion, you know.
You did. And the funny thing is, you had no idea because, like everyone else, you thought I was going to be a Red Sox fan. Well, and I thought I was going to be a Red Sox fan.
Well, let's just set the record straight. When you asked me a week ago what my guess was, I did say Baltimore, and then
you did.
You said, well, I'm kind of leaning towards the Red Sox. So, I just let's just keep that on the record.
Yeah, I know. I'll give you that. You did, and yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to get used to probably seeing players come up and seeing them when they're kids for a while, and then seeing them disappear and win World Series, and if that's the life of an Orioles fan, then so be it. There's more important things than winning and losing. And speaking of more important things, congratulations to Melanie Newman, who's the play-by-play broadcaster. I thought that was a really nice story as well. I want to sort of delve into that story a bit more before I comment on it, but to have a female voice in baseball, yeah, I was really taken aback by that, which you shouldn't be. It shouldn't be a big thing, but unfortunately it is. So, congratulations to her, and hopefully she inspires a lot more women to either be interested in sport or follow that career. Yeah, so I'm just looking forward now to watching the videos of the 83 World Series, and they beat the Phillies, didn't he?
Yeah, they beat the Phillies. I believe they beat them in 5.
Does that mean I can't be a Phillies fan in the NL?
It does not mean that.
I thought you would have gone, yes, that's what it means. You have to be a Mets fan. Yeah, I was just reading there as well. Cobb and Davis represent 31 million, rounded up, 31 million of the payroll, which is 54% of the Baltimore Orioles payroll that they can't touch for another year. In the case of Cobb, 10 million comes off, and then in 2023, another 21 million comes off with Chris Davis, which is just insane. And I'm just hoping for their sake, because I always said that the reason that I wanted to be a Red Sox fan was how great it was and how much that they had to go through, and then to get that, and then have that moment in 2004. And it's such a nice story that you're drawn to it, but then you don't realize that by being drawn to it and by adding yourself to that team, you take them away from what they were. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You kind of make them this global entity that they weren't. And in the 80s and that, when they were struggling, that would have been the Red Sox team I would have wanted to follow. So that's who the Orioles are now. So that's my rationale. Which brings us to the end of the podcast, other than it's time for the Wheel of Names. We spun the wheel. See you laughing at me now. We spun the wheel before the episode just to get the division. And the reason that I did that is because I didn't want to type during the podcast. And then I forgot to write the names down, so I had to type during the podcast anyway. So we spun the wheel and we got the AL West. And I'm about to spin the wheel again now. And the team that we will be covering on next week's episode is the Texas Rangers.
Ooh, Billy Ball, if you're listening. Billy Ball is our guest if I can get her.
Cool. Should we do the next one, or
no? Let's
leave it at that, and then do them as and when. No, but we need to do it so you can get the guests lined up, don't you?
Well, I mean, a week is usually all I need.
Okay, I'm happy to leave it there then.
And sometimes that doesn't work out. But yeah, I'm gonna reach out. I know who I have in mind for the Texas Rangers show.
Awesome.
I'm gonna as soon as we're done here, I'm gonna type her. She owes me a favor anyway. And I'm kidding, Billy, but Billy was supposed to be a guest on one of my shows in March and was very sick actually, and I watched her do her show sick, so I know that she was not feeling well. But I would love to get Billy for the Texas show.
Awesome. Well, I'm off to book me flights to Utah Street. Any thank yous or any shout outs?
Yeah, I'm going to give a shout to Justin Dellinger. He actually joined the Utopian Baseball Universe yesterday. He's a big Orioles fan. I told him as soon as we upload, I'm going to get him a link to this. So Justin, if you're listening to this, welcome to the show. Welcome to the universe, and looking forward to talking with you in the future.
Awesome. And I would give a shout out to all the people who just joined the Screwball and JoBu show on Facebook. I would, but I can't remember the names. Let me just have a quick look. I think we got, how many did we get? We got 9 this week, didn't we? 9 new people, which is pretty cool. Got 52 members now, which is more than I would have hoped. So Stan Phillips, Sean Prude, Julio Weber, Sadie Lipululu. Love names like that. Greg Fokker, John Morgan, David J. Rubin, Trisha O'Neill, Trisha O'Neill. Why have I got Trisha O'Neill from? Trisha O'Reilly. My
Trisha
apologies.
O'Reilly. She's one of my favorite humans. She runs a great Mets group on Facebook. I love her. Welcome, Trisha.
And almost quite aptly, Mark Mancini to end with.
Mark's a great guy.
And obviously the Trey Mancini link. So that was a nice one to end on. A nice little bit of serendipity there. Big thank you to Dugout Classics and T and Tops Baseball for sending me cards, some that I paid for, some that I didn't. I can't think of anyone else really. Oh, Josh Nolan having a bit of a hard time. So hopefully he feels a bit better today. And we're always here if you need to talk. That's it. Join us on Twitter if you like, at Screwball JoBu. As I say, we're on Facebook, Screwball and JoBu Show. And I think we'll call it a day there. Thank you very much, JoBu.
Thank you, Richie Lunt.
It's weird when people say my surname. I don't hear it very often. Take it easy, buddy.
All right. Have a good one, buddy.